I hope you all are doing good. So today we are going to learn how to test a Camunda flow. Okay, so this today's video is going to cover how to set up, and we'll do a small test case as well. Okay, but this is like a quick setup and a quick a review or to see how to run or create a test cases. And in the coming videos we are going to create a complex workflows and we are going to write test cases for them. Okay, so if you are not aware of the library that I am going to use today, still you could have done the unit testing, but that could be a complex, like a huge task even for a small task. Okay, so we are going to make a flow today and then we are going to write a test case. So I have already written, I'll explain you because that is like you will get the code. I'll have the description of git in the git URL in the description as well. So without wasting any more time, let's get on to the workflow. So this is my IntelliJ, and we are, after seeing what is the workflow, we are going to see what all dependencies to add and how to add test case. Nothing much. So there is only these two steps, and also these two steps I mentioned on the github.com readme file as well. So that again I'll share. So let's start with the flow. So if you can see, there is nothing complex that we have made today. It's a simple thing so that we can understand. Okay, so first we create a simple start event. Let me open the properties as well. Okay, and this file you can find in the github, no worries. So yeah, there's no scope of missing any script or anything. So first is a simple user task where we have given user task 1 as id and value so that we can correlate in the test case when understanding. Yeah, of course we will not write this in real time. And then we have a service task. So this is like, if you don't know, it will automatically execute. This will not wait for us. So this waiting thing is what we are dependent on in the test case. So yeah, so next is service task, and third is one more user task. So here we have this thing, assign person. Okay, so we have candidate users, candidate groups, and all such properties, right? So in today's video we are also going to see that this task is assigned to whom in our test case. Okay, so it's as simple as it looks. A simple user task with one attribute, with these two attributes. Here we will be assigning some value, and this assigned person is going, we are going to make use of it in the assigned form of user task. So whatever value I give in the first user task for the assigned person, that person will be assigned to this task. Okay, this is not how we assign, this is just for example. Okay, and just a reminder, if you are creating a sample cases like this, if you put service task with no expressions or nothing, it will not execute. It must, this implementation is like a mandatory field. If we try to deploy it, it will get deployed successfully, but when we try to run it, it will say that it cannot be run because there is nothing to run, right? So if you don't have anything, just use expression and write $1 equal to 1. That is a default true case, so that our control can move ahead. So far in videos we have not talked about asynchronous, before, after, priority, and many such things. So we have not yet completely understood what Camunda is. So far whatever we are learned, based on that only we are writing test cases. So let me open my IntelliJ, and if you can see test Java. Okay, so let me show you how this works and then we'll execute the test case. Okay, so let me wait for it to build and run. So it's like we will know the value of this library if we have written the test case before the using of this. So what is that dependency and all, we will talk in a minute, no issues. So here my application started. Let me minimize my webcam. Yeah, now it is visible, right? So 8085 it is running on. Let me open Firefox. Here we go, and as usual our username is you, password is you, sign in, cockpit. So in this application, right, we have some BPMNs in the resources folder. That's why we see all these deployments. So if you want to avoid this, just remove those files from the resources. Yeah, now coming to our flow, we have this test case sample. Let me open that, and let me open my task list as well. So the assignee, right, here we need not to think whether the user exists or not. We simply assign some random value. Now start process and test case sample. business key, Dpoint sample 1 start, and we have to refresh, and you can see this task is created, and the diagram we are at user task 1. Enter some random value, attribute 1, value 1, assign person. So here give any random value, okay, need not to worry whether that user exists or not, but if you want to make it work in real time scenario, you should make sure that you give a valid group name or valid username. Okay, assign person, let's say Dpoint IT, complete. Okay, now you see service task got executed, and we can see it is assigned to Dpoint YT. So that's it. It is a very simple flow, and like you enter something or not, here we don't care, it is not a mandatory field. So complete, and we are done. So that was all about what the workflow does. Now let's get back to our thing and stop everything, and let me run the test case. So we'll run it, and then we'll see what is happening actually. Remove everything and run it. So because I am using the in-memory h2 database, every time when I run the test case, it will try to create all the tables, and then it will go for executing the test case. So if you are connected to MySQL or something, this initial part, that is creating of table, will not happen every time as expected, right? Makes sense. So yeah, all these things is like done, and then if you can see, this is my happy path. So if you don't know about the terminologies, happy path is like the normal path, the expected behavior path. Okay, so this is my only one and only test case, and on which I am trying to execute the happy path. So if I go here, and if I scroll to the down, if any error is there, you will get here. Okay, so now let me bring on my modeler and the test case side by side, so you can correlate. So here we go, there's nothing is required. Now I hope everything is clear. Let me minimize this as well. So yeah, here we go. So first thing first, let's talk about the dependencies. So if I go to my projects form.xml, you will, when you clone it, you will find this for testing purpose. Okay, so in this testing purpose, you just need to add this test coverage. Okay, Camunda BPM process test coverage, and then this is like, you can use any library for assertion, but because the official suggested this along with this coverage, so I use that. And coming to next, we have this power Mockito and Mockito. So this is like your wish. If you use any other framework, go for that, but because I use Mockito, I go with this. Okay, so overall what I added is these 5 dependencies. So even in GitHub, let me show you. If you go to my github.com, Teja PS Camunda springboot, you will be seeing that I added the artifact tag, but it is somehow removed. So these are the artifacts that we need. Okay, so the first one is mandatory. The remaining this BPM assert, power mock, and Mockito core, this is up to you which framework you use. Based on that, you try to add. So the only required thing is the first dependencies. So yeah, that was about dependencies, and let's try to see the final test case. So whenever we try to execute any BPM menu from the environment variable or runtime variable, if you have seen previous videos, we try to get the runtime instance of that, like process engine dot get, like that. Okay, so if you have not, let me show you here. Like if I write process engine dot get, what happened? Do I need to build it? Okay, things like you will get the Camunda runtime variable. Like if you see this runtime service, this is a static function. Okay, and okay, let's talk about this in a minute. So if I write runtime service dot, then you will see all these things, right? So if we are starting, if here you can see we are simply starting by key, definition, or ID. But if you want to start any with any kind of correlation, just start, and you will see by message and various other methods. So just try to explore them, and then you will see how easy it is, even with the complex types of artifacts in the modeler. Okay, so that was about it. And before you start, right, if you see this rule, this I am not using anywhere in my test case. Okay, but if you don't create the instance of process engine rule, all these things will not work, because basically what this line is doing is, Okay, so if you are confused here, let me tell that we are simply creating a class and we are adding the power Mockito runner, and then we are creating our normal variables or words as per we do in the normal Java classes. Okay, so if you are not at all familiar with the how to write test case, I would recommend that you first see how to write JUnit or PowerMock unit test cases basically. So try to understand that and then come and see how to write test cases for Camunda, because that's how you will say okay, this is the actual process and this is what we are doing separate for Camunda. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now first thing first, we are done with our setup of Power Marketer. We are good. Next thing is we have to create an instance of this process engine rule, because basically here what we are doing is we are registering ourselves or our runtime service or our, I can say, the Camunda environment or system variables which it is providing, like execution, like delegate, all these things we are making it to register to some process engine. Okay, so just if you are not getting it, just comment these two lines and see what is the error. Okay, that error is such beautifully explained, you will get it completely, like what is the wrong thing that we are doing. Okay, so even though you are not using it anywhere, this is recommended to create an instance variable. Now next we create this test and we say that what ppmn file or what dmn file or what cmmn file are we testing. So I'll mention that in resources folder this is what I need to test on. Okay, so based on that xml structure, the execution, assertion and all we're going to be pass or fail. Okay, yeah. So next thing what we are doing is if you can see, we are starting the process instance by process key. So when you deploy, right, you will see the process key, definition key and all those stuff, right? If you have seen in the cockpit, when you open the process instance, you will see all those variables. So here what is my process key? So if you don't know that, just click on blank space anywhere and then you open the properties panel, you will see the id. Okay, here I have kept almost everything same id name, but it is only about ids, even the artifact, even the process or anything. Okay, so it is about ids. This is my process, I can say instance key, or I can say process key. So I'm just creating a variable with that name and I'm going to start this. Okay, so start this instance with this process key. So far so good. So as soon as we start something, right, it is started. Okay, now it is started. So this will not wait for anything, and so it is waiting at user task 1, right? I hope that makes sense. So for that what we are writing is whatever the instance that we got, like the instance that we started, okay, for that it is active. Okay, it's like there was no error in starting and it didn't ended. Okay, so it is active and then has passed the start event. So what is start event? So whatever we are mentioning here, right, are the IDs of all the artifacts in the modeler. So if I click on start event, this you can see this event, this start events id is start event. Okay, so I can say it is like literal English terminology. So if I click here, I write dot, you will see everything, you whatever you need. So if you can just see what all things are available, don't use it, just see. And then I can write has, you can see what all things are available. So it is like simple English statements instead of the cumbersome process that we used in general to write test case. So yeah, now I say that since my expectation is as soon as I start this process, it should wait as user task 1. So I am simply saying it is active, it has passed the start event, it is waiting exactly at user task 1. So you will find two functions here, is waiting at exactly or is waiting at like this. So this difference is out of scope of this variable, this video, but for sure we are going to discuss each and every function when we will writing the test cases for complex artifacts. Okay, so this makes sense, right? It has passed the start event, it is waiting exactly as user task 1, that is this one. Okay, now this task, if I open this, you can see assign is no one. So I can like write assertions on all the other things as well, but to show okay this is available, I have written on one that it is waiting exactly. Now so far I was talking at an instance level, but when I want to talk in specific to this, I will try to fetch the task variable of it. So that's why I'm saying that I want to talk about this task, not the complete instance. Okay, so this complete thing is my instance and this thing is my task. this is my task, this is my task. Hope that makes sense. Now this task you need to understand, because in parallel to that we have many more concepts to come. Okay, so let me repeat this line once again. This complete thing will be a process, and when this process is in execution we call it as an instance, and each artifact of that is called as task or external task, or so many such things are there. So for now just keep in mind that we call it as a task. So this task, now in specific to that I am talking, is not assigned to anyone. Okay, so that is what my assertion is. So if this is fine, it will pass, otherwise fail. Okay, now this task, which task am I calling, how will it know? Okay, so it knows when I'm talking about that instance, in respect to that, what is the task that is active. So if any external task is active and I say task complete, it doesn't know what is that task because the task is not there. I hope it is making sense. So when I say task or external task or anything, the instance is aware. Okay, so at what point of time is currently the token is waiting at. Okay, so we see that when I say task, it knows that we are talking about user task, because that is the where currently the I can say position of the process instance is. Okay, that completely makes sense. Now when I say complete a task with the variables assign persons dpoint attribute value 1, so here how am I mentioning? So instead of creating a separate map or hash tables, those kind of things, we have simply provided this function with variables, where I will mentioning the key one, like attribute 1 value 1, comma attribute 2 comma value 2 comma attribute 3 comma value 3. So this is like very excellent thing I found, because if this is not available, again I need to create a separate variable and then I have to put it like in a different format which the function accepts. So here I see like simply it is simplified very much. So if you can see in user task 1 I have two attributes, right? Attribute 1, so I am saying that attribute 1, this is the value, this is assigned person, this is its value. Okay, you can give third value as well, so it will be like execution dot set variable. That's how it will function, because there is no third variable here, but I can write here like one more attribute and one more value. Okay, that is up to us. Now I am saying that complete this task with the variables 1. So what we are expecting now, that as soon as it is complete, the service task will get executed, then we will be pointing to user task 2. So if I call task now after completing of user task 1, I will get a pointer to user task 2. I hope that completely makes sense. Okay, now if I say assert that has passed user task 1, I hope that is a self-explanatory. I can say that as well, or I can say has passed in order. Okay, because I need to make sure that this is also completed, this is also completed, so I can say this as well, or I can say simply has passed service task 1, because everything is true, right? So it is just I need not to use all these functions here. It is just to show you that okay, these things are available. Okay, so has passed in order, now is waiting at user task 2. It's like simple English statements, nothing else. Okay, now you see when I say task again, so whatever next that I'm going to talk about is not at the process level, it is about this task only. Okay, so now I say that it is assigned to Dpoint. That should have happened, because here I have passed Dpoint to assigned person, and in user task 2 there is this assigned person I am assigning. Okay, so this should be run, and if it not, test case fail. Okay, now I say complete task. So at this point of time I hope you know what task it is talking about. Now I am completing this task with some random variables, I don't care, and then I am saying assert that this instance has passed in order user task to this one and end event. So the name of this, the ID of this, not name, is end event. Okay, I hope this completely makes sense and is ended. Now you try to put is active or something and try with various things. Okay, let me see what all things are there. Is, you see, is waiting at, is ended, is active, is not ended, is waiting at. So yeah, try all these things. So I hope this makes sense. So we talked about the dependencies, we talked about the setup, we talked about how to write a test case. Okay, and you have seen the execution of flow, and we have also wrote a test case and try to execute a happy path. So yeah, and if you have seen, I have made the introduction of all this components, so that was a part one. Okay, so I'm going to make one more in which we are going to cover the complex types, like different kind of gateways, sub process, sub instances, like all those things. Okay, and we are going to create gateways which will be waiting for different events. So all these things which we have not covered so far, which is, I can say, the phase 2 of Camunda, is like above the basic thing, so that we are going to come up with in this weekend, or I can say the next weekend. But yeah, so that is one thing that we have to learn so far, and we are continuously going to make some, I can say, more complex test cases. So if you have any such requests, you can send it to my mail I have mentioned in my about section. So if you like my explanation, please to click on subscribe, to click on notification bell, and you can clone this repo and try executing it yourself. And if you have any suggestions, please to mention those in the comment sections as well. So yeah, that's it for today, and please do share it with people who really are working on this. And yeah, that's it for today. Stay home, stay safe, practice as much as possible. Thank you.